All right, greetings class, and welcome to week number 3. That is right, week number 3 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin, and what we're going to do this week is first we're going to do that state of the course update, and then what we are going to do is we're going to go over what I call the Googles of the library databases, and those are going to be Academic Search Complete / Academic Search Premier, and then also JSTOR. So we are going to talk about those. This video will probably be between 35 and 45 minutes, but if you speed it up, that's 35 to 45 minutes unsped. So sped it up, it should be even quicker than that. So by all means, please speed this video up, and let's go ahead and get into our state of the course update. The first thing that I want you all to be aware of is you do have 3 deliverables for this Sunday night, June the 22nd. You do have 2 discussion board prompts, discussion board prompt number 4 and discussion board prompt number 5. Go ahead and knock those out and get those turned in by Sunday night. And then also by Sunday night, you need to complete your virtual reference practice and paper. That's going to be worth 13 points and also due on June 22nd. So I know you all just had the unassignment due last weekend along with 2 discussion board prompts, but you've got 2 discussion board prompts and another assignment going on again this week. It's a summer class and this is how it goes. So just kind of get used to that pace and everything, and just know that yes, life is going to be coming at you really fast in this class, but you all are up for it. And I do again want to assure you all that even though this can be kind of stressful right now, I do believe that when you actually finish the class, you will say, hey, I got a required class done in half the time, doing the work twice as fast. And that should hopefully balance out and make you feel a little better, help you get into, it'll take some stress off of you so that you can get into your electives and that sort of thing. At least that's what I'm hoping for you. So, yeah, that's what we're hoping. So, know that you have 2 deliverables, the 2 discussion board prompts and the virtual reference practice paper. I'm going to go in here and just show you all something really quickly. I'm not actually going to, by the way, you all should have, I've been on your back, so you all should have turned in your, not turned in, you all should have scheduled a time to meet with your partner by now. Even if you have not met with your partner yet, you should have scheduled a time to meet with that person by now. If you haven't, you are running out of time. You better get on it, okay? All right. Now let's scroll down here because there is something that I do want to kind of bring to y'all's attention here. I don't know why this started, but about 3 years ago, it just started to where like everything was fine. I started here at Mizzou in 2018. So I've been here longer than 3 years, but about 3 years ago, I just started having a bunch of students that were refusing for whatever reason to write in first person. And so the virtual reference practice assignment and the Wikipedia edit assignment are assignments where it is fine to say, I did this, I felt that, blah, 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 and write in first person when it's appropriate. I am going to mark you off if you send me some robotic third person thing that's that is written and it interrupts the flow because it's written in such a way that you're saying, then the student this, then the student that, then the student this, instead of saying I. Do not refer to yourself in third person. If you refer to yourself in third person, I am going to take points off because it's very difficult and awkward to read these papers that are written in third person, okay? And so I do highlight this here. I do not know where people got this idea that you cannot write in first person in academic writing, but it is not true. Please go ahead and write in first person when it's appropriate. I do not want you referring to yourself in third person. It drives me nuts. And it takes me longer to grade papers when they're like that. All right. And another thing that I wanted to kind of bring to y'all's attention, and this results from actually a question that I was asked today via email, is, and this is a good question. I'm glad that this was asked. So I was asked if you all need to incorporate sources and that sort of thing in your Wikipedia edit and your virtual reference practice papers, and the answer is yes. You are in grad school, so you do need to be, I do expect you to be building your arguments and your statements. I expect them to be built off of and to incorporate the scholarship, the data, the theories, the opinions, etc., of people who have done this or people who are in the field, people who have published things before. So I'm not looking for you all to just do the straight, give me your reflection without building upon what other people have written. So for instance, there's and this is a very crude example. It wouldn't really be applicable to what you all are doing. But for instance, let's say that you were the library patron, and you were looking for a material, and you were writing a reflection about being a library patron, looking for a material and not being able to find it. There is a theory, the theory has been debunked now, but there is an information seeking behavior theory called library anxiety. And the library anxiety theory, if you were to be a library user who is having some anxiety trying to find something within the library, you could say, yeah, I felt this, and that way, and I believe what I was feeling was what Cassell and Higher Math called library anxiety, which is blah, 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 blah. And then you can cite that source and that sort of thing. And that's how you incorporate, that's one way to incorporate, again, theories, knowledge, data, opinions, experiences, blah, 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 into your writing. But yes, you do need to incorporate other sources into what you are doing. For these papers, for the virtual reference paper and the Wikipedia edit paper, you all are in grad school, so that's what I am expecting. And there is no minimum. So if you can get the job done with 1 or 2 sources, that's fine. And that's usually actually what, for the virtual reference practice paper, oftentimes that is all that all the students are citing is 2 sources a lot of times. Like I'll see the reference list and it's just 2 sources. I'm not saying only do 2 sources, but what I am saying is when you're in grad school, we don't give you a minimum of 10 sources. We just say use enough sources to get the job done. And that's what I will be expecting from you all. All right. All right. So this is a reference class, so I'm sure that you all would appreciate learning a few things about a few databases. We do go over the databases a bit more in the 15-week class than we do in the 8-week class, of course. But that doesn't mean that we can't do a little bit of something while we are in the 8-week class, and so that is what we are going to do. So today we will talk about the 2, what I would say are the 2 most important databases, because they are the Googles of the databases, and those are Academic Search Premier / Academic Search Complete and JSTOR. And the reason why I call them the Googles of the databases is because these are databases that are not specific to any particular subject. So most library databases actually do kind of have a limited scope of what they are trying to do. So for instance, CINAHL, that's a nursing database. PsycInfo, that is a psychology database. IBIS World, that is a database about business industries. Emergent is about business companies. PubMed and these sort of things are like medical databases and so forth and so on. Auto Reference Repair Center is for automotive repairs. You get the idea. So most databases, again, are for particular things. But there are databases that kind of run the whole gambit. They're like general databases that cover all topics. And those databases are useful in part because those are the databases that a lot of times you're going to start with because they are easy to use for one thing. So these databases tend to be where you would start off a lot of times, especially when you were dealing with, for instance, undergrads that just need a bunch of sources, or high school students that just need a bunch of sources and that sort of thing. Or if you are dealing with, if you are dealing with adults in the public library who are just looking for a lot of information about one particular topic, but that particular topic could be something that crosses a lot of disciplines or would be relevant to a lot of disciplines. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to use the president as an example there. If somebody came in looking for Donald Trump, information on Donald Trump, you could start out with biography databases if you wanted to, but you could also start out with Academic Search Complete / Academic Search Premier, because those 2 databases, they would give you news, journal articles, magazines on Donald Trump, and it would not just be about his life. You could get news items, you could get journal articles that talk about the results of his policy and so forth and so on. So there's a lot that you can do And so when you, like with a particular subject, a lot of times there's a lot that you can do. And if you don't want to be limited in scope, like a biography database may limit you in scope to where it's not really talking much, for instance, about policy impacts and things like that. So if you want that type of information, then Academic Search Premier and Academic Search Complete are a good place to start. And by the way, now I am going to reveal this little piece, because this is something that I notice it confuses students who haven't been in the field that long, and it's something that veteran librarians such as myself, we tend to do this very carelessly, and we're not thinking a lot of times, and so we do need to think. So one thing that I do want you all to be aware of is that I may say Academic Search Premier, even though what you have available is Academic Search Complete, or vice versa. I may say Academic Search Complete, and then you might look at Mizzou's listing of databases and say, all you have is Academic Search Premier. What is this Academic Search Complete? I want you all to realize that these are basically the same thing. Academic Search Complete and Academic Search Premier are really the same database almost. They search the exact same way, so forth and so on. The only difference is that Academic Search Premier is a lower tier of coverage from Academic Search Complete. So Academic Search Complete would be the complete version of this database, the more expensive version that would have all the content that you would imagine putting into this particular type of database. Academic Search Premier, unlike Academic Search Complete, doesn't really have all of that information in it. What Academic Search Premier is going to give you is the premier information and most of the information. I would say that most of the information and resources that you have in Academic Search Complete are also in Academic Search Premier. I don't know an exact percentage, but I know it's most of it. But if you want 100% of it, you do have to go the Academic Search Complete route. And that is not what Mizzou has done. Mizzou does have Academic Search Premier. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. If I were to go to library.missouri.edu, sorry about that. When you are looking to use databases, and again, the two databases that we're going to go over today are Academic Search Premier and JSTOR. When you want to find your library databases, you can go to the Mizzou Library's homepage, which is library.mizzou.edu, and then you can go to databases. And you get them, and you can get them in alphabetical order. So for that first one, we can go to this A, and we can go to Academic Search Premier. Bada boom. Go in here. And once it loads, okay, there we go. Once it loads, you will be, oh, and I hate this. Okay, so the EBSCO databases, I forgot about this. They are undergoing some sort of redesign, apparently. And so this is how these databases look now, and I cannot stand it. Hold on one second. All right, so not only do I hate this redesign and how it looks, but also this means that I have to relearn the database because I've got to learn how to navigate it now that it looks like this. So that's annoying. But first of all, the old way the EBSCO databases looked, some of you may remember the old way that the EBSCO databases looked, and they had like the blue screen and the blue emblem and all that stuff, and they had like that blue kind of color code to them. But the EBSCO databases used to actually default into the advanced search, which makes more sense, and now they don't. So the first thing that you need to do when you come into an EBSCO database is hit advanced search, or when you come into Academic Search Premier or Academic Search Complete, is go into the advanced search. All right, and you go into this advanced search. God, I hate how this looks. This is okay. So here's how we're gonna do this. I kind of have to change my game plan because you all are the first. And this is why I record these videos every semester instead of just recording them once and then replaying the same video every semester, is because the databases get updated, this, that, and the third, and so you don't just want to leave people hanging with that old information. So here we are. And again, I apologize that this isn't going to be as polished as my tours of the databases usually look, because now the database looks different, and so I am starting from scratch myself. But anyway, let's say that we are doing research on Donald Trump, okay? So we're doing research on Donald Trump. So let's say that we just throw Donald Trump into a field, and then we just click search. What you are going to see after you do, and of course now I got to see all these little new messages and everything too. All right, so once you do one of those searches, you're going to see that you're going to get a lot of results. In this case, you get 94,000 results. That's way too much for us to deal with. But first things first, what I did was basically a keyword search that is going to look for Donald and look for Trump. And it's not necessarily going to look for those terms individually. It's not necessarily going to look for those terms together. It will look for them individually as long as a source somewhere in the record, in the EBSCO record for that source, as long as it's got those two words in it. It could be in the abstract, it could be in the full text, if the full text is included, or anything of that nature. But as long as those two words are there, then it's going to show up in our results. So we've got too many things, and not all of these things even deal with Donald Trump. Some of them are just going to deal with other things, but they happen to have Donald and Trump in the title. So what we can do here is instead we can put quotation marks around Donald Trump, and then it is only supposed to bring us back things that deal, or things that show those two words, Donald and Trump, together. Okay. So we search this way. Yes, got it. So we search this way, and now you can see we lost almost 10,000 things, but that's still too many things. We went from 94,000 things to 85,000 things. However, now is when I get to show you all exactly how to go about trying to get this down. So, Gaza shall be forsaken. Nobody wants it but Donald Trump. And let's say you click this, and you see that this is published in a periodical called Commentary. It is in their March 2025 issue. We have, and it was written by Elliot Abrams, blah, blah, blah. All right. One of the things you're always going to want to do when you're searching an EBSCO database is you are going to want to scroll down, and you are going to want to find the abstract. If you found something and you're not sure whether or not what you found is going to be actually relevant to what you're researching, if you're not sure it's going to be useful to what you're trying to accomplish, then the best thing to do is to look at the abstract, and the abstract is going to be a 1 to 3 paragraph summary of the article's contents. And when you are dealing with academic journal articles, you all hopefully are aware this one's not too bad. It's only 4 pages. But some academic journal articles can be 100 pages or more. So you are going to want to read that abstract to figure out whether or not what you found is worth your time. All right. And it does appear, let's say that this is something that's worth our time, but let's also say that, oh, I am looking for things about Donald Trump. And this now gives me what we call controlled vocabulary. So when you see these links, and again, this was easier to understand, this was easier to explain in the old EBSCO, interface. So I hate that we've got this new one. But again, this is just what we're working with. So in the new EBSCO interface, you can find your controlled vocabulary. That would just be these links. And if you use your controlled vocabulary, then that would, for instance, anything, if I were to click this, it's going to start a new search. But anything that would come under that new search would definitely be something that was about this specific Donald Trump. And it would be, quote unquote, about him, not just mentioning him. So let me explain that. What we have right now is a keyword form of search. As long as Donald Trump, those two words, appear together anywhere in the record, and that can include an abstract, that can include full text if the full text is in HTML form versus this is PDF. So don't worry if it's PDF full text, but if it's HTML full text, it can pop up right under this information. And if it pops up right there, then the database is going to be looking for Donald Trump within that full text as well. And so if it mentions Donald Trump, it will be included in the returns, and it doesn't have to be specifically about Donald Trump. So let's say that you did this search and you found these 85,000 things, but a lot of them were things that just happened to mention Donald Trump, but they were not about Donald Trump. But now you've got your controlled vocabulary, and you can make things, quote unquote, about Donald Trump. You click it, and now you've got this, got it, bro. And now you've got this PE right here. This PE stands for people. And you can leave that. And as you can see, we've now gone from 85,000 things to 60,000 things. And that is because they shaved off about 25,000 things that just kind of mentioned Donald Trump, but were not about Donald Trump. But still, 60,000 things is a lot. So what are we going to do now? Well, in order to continue narrowing, first of all, we do want to, what I would do is kind of copy this just in case and then hit advanced search. Thankfully, it is still there, but I copied just in case, especially with this redesign. And now there are going to be ways that you can kind of limit your results and get down under that 60,000. So first of all, let's say that you've got 60,000 things, but the student says you're dealing with a student and the student was like, well, I can't have anything over 10 years old. So first you can deal with that. You can limit what you do to limit. Basically what you do to limit your results is you use these limiters. These different things are called limiters. So you can start out by limiting to the past 10 years. We have limiters here for full text, for references available, peer-reviewed, and cover story. I would leave the cover story thing alone. References available, there are times to use that, but there aren't many times that you can use that, or that you would be using that. Full text is something that you're going to use a lot, especially if you are dealing with people who are crunched for time, especially undergraduates who are crunched for time. If you get that sort of situation going, you can just limit the full text, because what they probably want to do is just find full text of something as quickly as possible. A lot of times undergrads, they just have to get like 10 sources, and so you can limit the full text, get them 10 sources with the full text included right there in the database. And then peer reviewed, that would come into play if you're looking at academic journals, if you want specifically things that are peer-reviewed journals and have gone through some sort of academic peer review process, okay? I'm not going to mess with any of those right now, because what I do want to kind of go back to is I want to kind of focus on Boolean logic for a second. So and, or, and not, those are our Boolean. You can see that right there, Boolean limiters. So if you have Donald Trump, let's say you were talking about Donald Trump and immigra. First of all, you can use a truncation symbol, and this will look for things that use this as a root word. So let's say you wanted to look for immigrant and immigrants, plural, and immigration at the same time. What you could do is you can take the root of the word, and then you can use the truncation symbol for that database. And in EBSCO databases, the truncation symbol is the asterisk. You can use the truncation symbol, and then you can change this. I would change this from a keyword. Right now it's looking at it from a keyword, but you can change that from a keyword to a subject term. So let's say that you're really doing research on Donald Trump and immigration. Again, what you can do, change this to a subject term, truncate this word, and then hit search. And now everything that comes back is going to be about Donald Trump and about immigration. And as you can see, now we finally narrowed it down a lot. We have narrowed it down from 60,000 things to 3,000 things. Now we've got something that's more manageable. See a little icon for peer review right there, so forth and so on. And there you go. So once you get into these, again, you can kind of play around with these. If you still wanted to, you can kind of click this all filters feature right here. And you can look around. There are a few other things that you could potentially mess with. I don't know, like, sure, pretty much, yeah, almost everything is in English anyway, but you could limit it to English to narrow your results down. So now I've got another filter, narrow it down to English. Put in even more filters. So let's say that I also wanted to, let's say that I only wanted academic journals and magazines. I didn't want newspapers, trade publications, and reviews. I could come over here, put those limiters on, and now we go from 3,000 things to 1,400 things. So you continue your limiting until you get a more focused search and then you just dive in, you can leave it at relevance, or you can go to from newest first or oldest first and that sort of thing. And then also, I like to have more than 10 results on the page at a time. I usually don't go to 50, I usually go to 20, but I like more than 10. Stop showing me that, bro. All right. And then you can do that. And so what you can do is from there, you can go to, this is something that I do want to show you all. Not everything is going to have the full text right there in the database. So there are going to be times when you have to go to online full text. In this case, it does appear we do have the PDF. Again, this is something with the redesign that I've got to get used to. So yeah, there's your PDF, your full text PDF right there. But if we didn't have that, then you could still go to access options and do the full text online, or you could use the journal finder or interlibrary loan features that I showed you in a previous check-in video. All right, a few other things that I want you all to be aware of, and then we will look at JSTOR. But a few other things that I want you all to be aware of first and foremost is you can get sample citations, but I want you all to be kind of weary of this. Be cautious of this. Oh, good. And this is showing me why you should be cautious of this. So you can get a sample citation that is computer generated, and there is no guarantee that the sample citation is going to be correct. They are only correct about 80% of the time. 80% may sound good, but that does mean that if you have 10 sources in a references list, there's a good chance that 2 of them would be wrong. Okay? So you always need to check over your sample citations, and this one here is wrong. If you watched my video about the APA citation, then you should know that not all of these words should be capitalized. This is our article title, Where Do We Go From Here? And those of you who had me in that, not those of you who had me in previous classes, but those of you who looked at those common APA mistakes should know. Do should be lowercase, we should be lowercase, go should be lowercase, from should be lowercase, and here should be lowercase. If you do not understand why, then I guarantee you need to go watch that video where I talk about the 2 common APA mistakes, because you're about to make those same mistakes if you don't understand why I just said what I said. All right, so you do have that option for sample citations, but always look over your sample citations. You can download. So you've got the option to download. You can download as a PDF or as HTML. I wouldn't worry about the download metadata only. You can probably get into that more so, especially if you're a tech librarian, you can get into that more so, but that's not something for us to worry about right now. Share. So these, at least the catalog record, the database catalog record can be shared. They can be emailed, or they can be sent through OneDrive, Google Drive, or you can create a link. And it can often be very advantageous to create your little permalink. I create permalinks all the time. So the create link on the share thing, that is something that you're going to want to be aware of. You can, if you create an EBSCO personalized account and log in, and that should be free. Then you can add these to a particular project that you're doing if you have that project within your login. And then, of course, you can save, and this is how you would save. But you would have to, again, create a login and then log into my EBSCO in order to retrieve your saved items. All right, and so that is the rundown on, I didn't even know they were supplying NAICS codes for that. But this is a rundown of your, basically the basics of what Academic Search Premier / Academic Search Complete, what those 2 databases do. And I do want to just scroll down here just to show you again. So in your database catalog record, you will have the title, you'll have authors, and those authors oftentimes are controlled vocabulary as well. The title of your publication, in this case, New Republic, those are usually a controlled vocabulary. And you do have your citation information here. You've got your publication title, the date, the volume number, the issue number, your pages, how long it is, in this case 6 pages. Article type document, it is document type article, I'm sorry. Subject terms, you have those subject terms there, and then company or entity demographic. Democratic Party. NAICS codes, those really come into play when you're doing like business research or economics or industry research, things like that. But you rarely ever use a NAICS code or anything like that within sociology or the social sciences. Then you have your abstract, you've got a word count, and your ISSN and accession numbers. All right. So now let's talk about JSTOR. We're not going to talk about JSTOR quite as long. We can probably get through JSTOR in about 10 minutes. All right, so we're going to go to databases here, and we're going to go to J. And from going to J, we scroll down and we get JSTOR right here. And when you go to JSTOR, you will be taken to something that looks kind of like this. And again, what I recommend is, proceed. What I recommend, what I recommend is that you all do the advanced search, okay? So you will find the advanced search here. And that will bring you here. And then you can have terms, you can add a row of terms and things like that. So let's say that we again are doing, and this time around, so here's here are the pros and the cons of JSTOR. So the pros of JSTOR is that there is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of information about all types of subjects in JSTOR. There is a lot of information, and this information goes back, folks. I've seen things written in the 1400s in England in this database, and I've seen plenty of things that were written in the 17 and 1800s. Okay, so the benefit of JSTOR is that there's a lot of stuff. It is basically a dumping ground for things that are at least 3 years old. Almost everything, not quite everything, but almost everything that you find in the JSTOR database is going to be at least 3 years old. But it can go back way, way further than 3 years. But everything you see here is going to be at least 3 years old. Not everything, but almost everything. Okay, but the weakness of JSTOR, and you'll find this, and it will frustrate you, is that the searches are very weak. They're not very precise. So when you search in JSTOR, it does not have the neat parameters around the controlled vocabulary that I just showed you. When you use controlled vocabulary in an EBSCO database, it's great. When you use it in a Gale or a ProQuest database, it is fine. When you use controlled vocabulary in JSTOR, it doesn't really help you that much, okay? So Donald Trump, and I'm not even gonna like select a field, because you can have it, really when you're selecting fields most of the time, actually I will select the field. You would usually put it in the abstract here. So you don't have that controlled vocabulary. You don't have the option of looking for things like within, I don't know, like within subject terms and that sort of thing. You just have to see if it's in the abstract or in the title or if it's anywhere in the record. But let's put Donald Trump and immigration. Put that in the abstract as well. And then search. You can hit your submit advanced search, and then if you get too many things, you can start narrowing as well. And trust me, in JSTOR, you are going to get too many things. Okay? And then I say that, and then this thing decides to embarrass me. So we didn't get too many things. That is a very manageable number, 41 results. But if you wanted to narrow it down further, you would have some options. Again, you have your content type. You could do journal articles or book chapters. You can scroll down to the subject that the journal is classified within. So Latin American studies in this case would be a good one. So that did take us down from 41 to 3. You would have other limiters at your disposal if needed. And then finally, yes, you can come here, go into the record if you need to, and then that just kind of gives you abstract and probably references as well. So if you wanted to, there are some articles within JSTOR to where you can get the article right there and kind of flip through it, toggle through it without having to actually download the article. But that is not the case here. In this case, you do have to download the article. But once you download it, accept the terms and conditions that they laid out, and then it's right there. Your full text is right there. And that is another good thing about JSTOR, is that for the most part, very rarely, pretty close to 100% of the time, very rarely will you see an example of a EBSCO, an example of a JSTOR resource that doesn't have the full text just right there. In EBSCO, you may have to look for the full text. You may have to go outside of the database to find the full text, but that is never the case within, or rarely the case within JSTOR. Within JSTOR, 99% of the time, your full text is going to be right there. And that was the case with this. My full text was right there. All I had to do was just download it, turn it in. Okay. All right. And that is pretty much everything. And we can pretty much stop it right there. We are at that 35 minutes that I told you all about. And we got through what I wanted to discuss. So I am going to leave it there. And until next week, class, thank you so much. I am Dr. Jace, and just make sure as you are doing your virtual reference assignments this week, ask a question that is challenging, but still give your partner some grace. Jace, grace, that's my rhyme. I can go. See you all in the discussion boards and also next week with another check-in video. Bye-bye.